Welcome, welcome. We're starting anyway. Welcome to our masterclass. Oh, wait. With the purpose to give you free keys to take your career, your leadership, your business to the next level. And what if I told you that with just three small shifts, you could reclaim at least 10 hours of your week. You can lead with unstoppable force, unshakable confidence, and inspire not only those you lead, but also your peers and your CEO to achieve greater results. Get them to think out of the box in a way they never thought possible. That is what this masterclass and the series I'm running this week, leading up to our Leadership Blueprint event, is all about. I'm going to give you tools that I've learned and apply every day, tools that I teach and train my clients. And I'm also going to share with you stories and what I observe. This will give you an unfair advantage how other people, like CEOs, think. So you can get ahead of the game. Yeah. And for those who are tuning in, like live stream here in the studio, we use the chat. And if you're streaming in live from YouTube, welcome. Drop comments and I'll pick them up later. If this is the first time we meet, welcome. My name is Camilla Calberg, and I serve top-level leaders like you to help you take your career and your life to a very new level. I've served clients in BP, Shell, and IBM. And what I'm really passionate about is to help you break through to your next level. And what we're one of the tools and the keys I'm giving you today is not about adding more academic skills. It's actually about shifting how you see the world. But stay with me because I was on a leadership call last night, and they talk about the outer world, but that's never going to shift. Your game will never shift unless you actually understand some of the tools that we are going through today. So I'm super, super excited. Most leaders, I'm going to say, they operate from they are more operators. They are stuck in survival modes, endless meetings, constant KPIs that shift on a quarterly basis. And on Q1, maybe it's they're on 100%, then in Q2, it's a different lower level, and so on. They keep turning the KPIs. It's a constant pressure on leaders. And there's a constant pressure of doing more. It's about you know how to be polished, you know how to take the room. You have trained yourself so much to ask the right questions, and do not ask the questions, or do not ask those questions that will upset other people. You know how to fit in. And most leaders, without you knowing and being in this realm, is that we just know how to behave. But that's really about survival mode. What I'm talking about today, I'm giving you insights and tools of this is so practical. You can take these tools and go and apply right after. Leadership has nothing to do with being the best. It's about being unique, being different, and being yourself. And most people are not themselves. They are not unapologetically themselves. And I want you to understand in this masterclass together today that your next level is allowing yourself to be who you are. Also to listen more, but it's not about being the best, because if we come from the perspective of being the best, we have subconsciously told ourselves and everyone else that we cannot grow. So it's not about being the best. Even my body was even responding now with the muscle. It's really interesting. And I cannot remember if it was Einstein talking about this, but we do not want to be an expert in this. We want to be unique. We want to be the facilitator of change, but we do not want to be an expert. And when when you're leaning in, and I invite you to take notes while we're together, you can leave the stress. Everything about having KPIs, being so focused on doing more, that creates mental illness, like frustration in teams, maybe even yourself, and can lead to burnout, right? Does that sound familiar? I've been there, but it doesn't have to. If we stop fitting in and really allowing ourselves to show up. So I'm going to share with you 3 powerful keys that you can apply right after our event today. And it's not about adding more to this. It's about thinking differently and being more present, but more about that when we walk through the keys. And by the end of the session, you will have your own unique blueprint to lead unapologetically. It's about you showing up, just being you. And when I say a blueprint, I invite you to listen to what I share, and not just take notes and do my words, but reflect on how you can apply that to your world. That's how you level up. Is that take what I share and I say, okay, do your own math. Where are you now, and where do you want to be? What's your growth edge? Because then you apply the keys to your setting, to your life, because we are all unique. And it's about giving you the space. And I'm so grateful that you're here today, because you said yes to yourself. That's what's so adorable. Is that the right word? I don't know about, but admirable that you said yes to yourself. Because what I'm taking you through as well is that most people do not say yes to themselves. They struggle to say yes. And that's why we are in this survival mode more than the thriving mode. And by the end of our session today, about 60 minutes, I also want to take you or give you a tour of our leadership blueprint. You can ask any questions. We still have some few seats left. Maybe it's not for you, but maybe you know someone who's ready to break through to the next level. Yeah. So let's get started. The first key I want to talk about is that of building confidence to lead unapologetically. And why is that so important? When we do not apologize, we trust in ourselves. We do not feel small. We feel on par. But I tell you, and observed it so many times in my own story, is that we apologize. Sorry for saying that, or sorry for being late. Well, I think you have a good reason for being late, but a lot of leaders apologize. Oh, sorry, I shouldn't have said that. But it's about being conscious, aware of how we show up, and show up in such a way that we show up in alignment with who we truly want to be, you at the core, your core values. And there's a book called Audacity to be Queen, but it could be Audacity to be King as well. But it's about really allowing yourself just to show up. And do not apologize for being so confident in you know that you know that you know. You have years of track record. Own what you're really good at. And because people do not show up with true confidence, because what will they say? What will they think? Will they think I'm stupid if I ask that question? Will they think I haven't understood a thing if I ask that question? What you're doing is that you play that in a game of second doubting yourself, and you're sabotaging your own success. Because when you're in a world, tell yourself limiting belief, what will they say? Can I ask that question? You subconsciously put up barriers for yourself. And then you're giving away power. And you perceive your limiting beliefs, your narratives, as being the truth. And I want in this time together, I hope to open your mind and be so aware of what you are telling yourself, because you are sabotaging yourself. For years, I was sabotaging myself. For years, even though I knew I had track record, every time I was in room with bigger personalities, I would forget everything that I have achieved so far. And I would give away power to people at higher ranks. Even though that I have had I have achieved amazing results, but I tend to forget those results. I didn't carry them in my heart. And whenever someone showed up and being a bit rude, then I would start to apologize. But I learned that it's not the way to lead and to really be like in board meetings or in C-suite meetings. It's about really owning what you know, your greatness, your uniqueness, and show up with confidence. And the confidence comes from within. Confidence comes from within. People look for external validation for confidence. Oh, you said the right thing. Yeah, but you need to feel that you said the right thing, but you're not going to get whether you're right and wrong, because then you come from ego. But if you showed up with the purpose to serve, then be that confident that you're in that room to serve. But most people do not do that. And I think it's because, and that's what I've observed over the years, that when people come up from show up from a lower level of energy, I have a very present story in mind, then we allow that their stories to be a true reflection of how we feel or who we are. I want to share this story. And it's very hot from the press. It's just 6 hours old. Supposed to serve someone today. And reached out. Because I was interesting how this synchronized, how things synchronize when we're going to talk about this. So a few things came up today. But I got this message back because if you receive one of my messages, I would oftentimes send voice messages, because that I learned to send voice messages, not to hide, but show up. How would I do with a friend? And I got this message back. Don't send me voice messages. It's very unkind. And hadn't I known and learned about energy, I would have been my body's responding now. I would have been telling me that everything I do is wrong. I would then start not sending voice messages, because obviously she got triggered. But now I know that this has nothing to do with me. It has everything to do with her and how she perceived that message. And I've been in so many rooms when people judge me and tell me that what I do is wrong. Even though I showed up with integrity, with love. But when people tell us that we are not good enough, or you did that, and we feel that we are a failure, then we start to conform to how other people wanted us to show up as. But if we want to show up as being that confident, fearless leader, not apologizing, then we have to understand what energy is all about, and holding the space when people are being challenged. So leadership is not about being the best. It's not about managing people. When we are in operation with so many KPIs, we oftentimes end up managing other people. But that's not what leadership is about. Leadership is about leading other people. It has nothing to do with you. It's about helping other people help them see their greatness and how they can excel even better. I'm going to give you later on a few tools that you can apply not only for yourself, but also share with your teams, right? And confidence doesn't come by being perfect. Sometimes people say, I'm confident in doing that because I've done it so long. Yeah, but sometimes we have to do new things, but we want to do it with fears and courage and confidence that we could do it anyway. And I hear this so often from leaders is that I, I do not know how, when I ask them to do something or they've been given an assignment, they say, I do not know how to do that. So it's not my job. You do not know how to do it because it's new. You do not know how to do it. You're sabotaging your success and you're setting up boundaries. But it's new and then we embrace it. So whenever you're giving assignment to other people, right, you lead with confidence and people say, I do not know it. No, because you never tried it. But now it's the first time. So there's so much in the words and how we perceive the world and what we know to be true and not true. And when we lead with come from confidence to lead unapologetically, it also requires you to slow down and be so present to observe what is going on in the room. Most people are so focused on delivering results and I've heard it so many times over the last couple of weeks. They are so in the doing mode that they do not pick up the energy in the team, the frustration in the team, and then they get frustrated when people do not understand the task at the first time. So it's about slowing down when you lead. With confidence to lead is actually to allow yourself to slow down and be so present so you can pick up on what's going on in the team, in the C-suite team. But you get to take your eyes off the result and really understand what is it that we want to do. But here's the trap. And that is most leaders, and really interesting because in that call I was on last night, most people were talking about the how. And it was a really executive group of people gathered yesterday. There were more than 100. But how, when we communicate the how, you suddenly expect people to know and to come up with a solution. You will get somewhere. The question is where. And for sure, you won't get to where you really want to be or your organization needs to be. Most people forget to focus on the why. And I had a conversation with an exec the other day. And I asked about why that person hadn't set up the boundaries for success for the meeting. How do we do that? It was about implementing a new technology or tool. And I said, what about the why? And said, but we know the why and we have our KPIs, but the why was the corporate why. There wasn't a why to what they were implementing. So suddenly this individual was trying to lead a team of three. It was a task group. And he was gathering the team and focused on the how. How do we do this? But nobody knew what he wanted to achieve or why he wanted to achieve what he wanted to achieve. And the thing is, he didn't know either. So Focus on the why is so important. And how does that serve when we talk about build confidence to lead unapologetically? It's about asking, why is it that we do it? Ah, but you know it because it's a corporate why, but it's not so. Don't assume that people know the why. Don't assume people know the why. Been enough projects to see very light project briefs with no clear why. And then suddenly we end up going somewhere, and then the pressure is up again in Q3, Q4, because we haven't delivered. So start focusing on the why and be so curious to ask about the why. And that's about showing up and being so bold about asking that question, the why. And an interesting feedback and response that I get about what is the why. And sometimes people would say, but it's not my project. You as a leader want to really own the why and set the scene so that you don't have people ending up with people being the operator, but the co-creators of your project. And when you do not own your why and communicate it more than 5 times and don't think they understand, you will end up, you probably know this very famous graphic or comic with leaders in one boat, and further down it's a team. And that illustration I've seen and I see and observe it again and again and again. And then suddenly you would ask, but I'm so frustrated because why don't they understand it? It's because you haven't clearly communicated what it is. The same goes when you're in a C-suite meeting. Lead boldly means that you want to be curious about the why. And if you do not understand, ask with love and be courageous to ask, I don't really understand it. Because if you do not understand it, that either you're in your head, but then there's some fear, some limiting beliefs. Interesting, let's work on that. But also, the more we talk about the why, the more like me as a presenter, you as a leader, owns the why in your heart and communicate it clearly. So remember that. I see it again and again and again. And we as a high performing leaders, we want not to be in the operator mindset. We want to be in the creator mindset, which means that we pause. And we have to pause. This is the key, one key. Do I have to pause? Or you have to pause. You have to pause if you do not want to be an operator. And you want to get your team members to pause so that they get out of the operator mindset. We talk about accountability later, but get them out of the operator mindset, because you have people on your team to set you up for success. So obviously you want to set a team who are also co-creators, not just operators, because then they just do what you tell them to do. And sometimes what you tell them to do is not the right thing because you haven't thought everything through, because you're busy end-to-end meetings, right? And you have no time to slow down. Your KPIs are quarterly adjusted. You want to have people who not only are implementers, operators, but co-creators, and you want them as well to ask bold questions. But there is this interesting dynamics about psychological safety, but really when it comes to that, it's not ingrained in all organizations. So be so curious about creating your own space, take your own space, but also encourage your team members to be courageous and ask bold questions, because they will help you unlock where you are stuck in your own head, why you haven't communicated clearly. When you haven't communicated it, you don't really understand it and embody that. But it's a gift for you. It's not a threat, it's a gift. So focus on that, and then be rather than focus on revenue and be nice and be the doer, focus on creating that co-creation. And then because it removes chaos, frustration, and burnout, and you get to build a winning team. So that's about building confidence to lead unapologetically, both up and down. And if we do not do that, we will end up like in the operator mindset. And I have a team that is more the operator. But here's what deep down everybody wants. It's have the autonomy to do that stuff. We all want freedom. Freedom at work and freedom at life. And that means that when you give them the opportunity to ask bold questions, hey, you're going too fast. I don't know what this meeting is all about. Or saying, how much money do you spend in wasting in that 1 hour? Nobody knows what the agenda is all about. It wasn't his money that got him to pause. But if we invite our team members in to say, excuse me, I don't understand. What is this meeting all about? That gets you to pause. And that is a gift. And everyone wants autonomy. So give them, delegate. Most leaders also struggle with the delegation or delegate on the how. But you want to know about the why. Then people will find the how. And if we do not delegate with greatness and kindness, like great leaders, it's about being kind. It's not about being the best. If we do not show up like that, we will never achieve greater results. You've probably been in meetings where, like me, where it's dominant people, your results will never exceed your level of self-awareness. Never. Let that marinate. Your results will never exceed your conscious of self-awareness. The kinder you are, the more curious you are, the bolder you are, the more inviting and challenge me with love, then you will, together with your team, take your results to a very, very different level. And as I say, I really want you to pay attention to this. I say to my clients, I am not here to be your friend. I'm here to help you grow, which means that, and I learned, and it's taken me some years, but I learned to call out what I see and be your mirror. And it's my moral obligation. I did that even also, and there was another event today where I called out because it was my accountability to call out with love because that's how I serve. Get with friends, that's amazing. But the same goes with you in your workplace. Because when people want to be friends, guess what happens? You do not show up boldly. But I want to respect her. Go to work to serve. Don't go to work to find your friends. If you find friends, that's amazing. I'm not saying you shouldn't have friends. We'll want friends. But show up to serve. And then agree if you have really good friends and with your colleagues. When we work, I'm here to serve. And outside, then we are friends. But when we are friends, it's really difficult to say what really needed to be said in an authentic way, unapologetic way. So really be mindful of that. I hear that so many times. All right. Key number 2, that's about how do we innovate with leaders higher up? Even when we feel small. And I hear that again and again and again. For example, today I have a client who's running for an amazing job. But even in our prep, she said, I can't ask that question. I can't. We do not want to feel small, but subconsciously, when we perceive a title as being greater than where we are, we feel small, and you start to give away power and don't ask bold questions. So, but you cannot lead if you come from a place of less than. You have to believe in your value, only the value that you bring. Otherwise, you wouldn't have been invited to that meeting. So that's one of the things about innovating with people. Feel your feelings when you give power away. That is a green flag to stop, to flip that script. Tell yourself another story. Be curious about, why do I give power away? Because you've been triggered. So it's easy to say, flip that script, but really allow yourself to own what you're worth. You are unique. You do not have competitors. Own that. Own your why. Own your track record, right? And so, as mentioned before, great leaders, they do not focus on being right. They focus on serving. And I was mentioned, and I learned, this is what I learned years ago, is that people love to be loved up. People love to hear what you achieved so far. It's like, I'm so inspired of this. Love people up. People love, tell me more about that. What did you do? Use that trick to build respect and then trust. Remember, trust, respect, and then you can really go and create. So how do we show up when we are in meetings with people with higher ranks or people with a dominant people? Like, for example, this morning, do you start to really own your greatness and own that I've done this hundreds of times. Come up with the proofs. I've done this before. If we struggle with this, this is what I've done before. So come up with that. Own your proof. Do the story. Proof, promise, plan. Proof, promise, plan. What is it that you've done so much? What is that you promise? If this is a challenge, then I know how to do that. And then you're going to create a bespoke plan. Because one thing is that you have your assets. Another thing is that obviously that plan is bespoke. So be so curious, be so committing yourself to own your proofs, what you're really, really good at. But it's not about you. It's a result and how you set other people up for success. And so when you're in a room with other people, take that room as being on par with them. And you may say, I do that all the time, but even the story I shared just before, right? And they sick. And when you're not in a room with a multimillionaire, how would you feel? If you were going to pitch to a multimillionaire in 2 hours, would you feel on par? Would you not feel on par? How do you take the table? How do you take the room? That's how we innovate. And yes, very successful people know that they're very successful, but they also have blind spots. And the reason why you've been invited is because you have something they believe you can help them with. So be on par with them and feel it, because innovation happens when you break free from your own limitations and other people's limiting beliefs on how they see the world. How they see the world is not fixed. There's multiple versions and multiple realities. It's just that they use the track record, the record of all what they have done. This is how we done it. Yes, but it's not the truth. And I want you to really own this, because very few things are the truth. Very few things are the truth. So innovate with leaders is that really owning the table. So be curious about, when do you feel less than? When do you give power away? And why do you do that? Because remember, as I mentioned early on, is that experts, when they say I'm an expert, they have a fixed mindset. Don't give power away from people who are experts. And I want to give you an action-oriented framework when you sit with people, either in C-suite board or your team members. It's a framework developed by Sir John Whitmore. It's GROW. You probably know the model, but it's good to be reminded of. It's goal, reality, options, and willingness. It's again about the why. What is the goal and what is the true goal here? And what is that we believe to be or perceive to be the reality? But what if we flip that? What if we were asking a better question? What then about that question? What then about the goal? What then about the options that we have? And then the willingness to do it. And I've heard that some probably more than just some companies have deliver 100% first time. If we are up against a KPI, deliver results 100% first time, it says there's no chance to fail. But it's only when you fail and you fail forward that you create an even better result. So I want you to invite you to really be curious about the KPIs that companies set up. Because if we do not allow ourselves to fail, then we are not risk takers and we are not the entrepreneur spirit, and we are focused on safe results more than actually going for the bold desires. So be so curious about that. And then I want to give you a reminder of the other framework. It's called also the EM, expectations, agreement, and rewards. And I hear this so many times. A lot of people, and I had to get unstuck here as well. All what I teach, I got to learn to get unstuck, and I still sometimes find myself trapped. Most people are stuck in expectations. I expected you to do that, Camilla, or I expected you to help me with that. Da 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 da. But expectation you cannot use. You cannot use expectations. You have to agree. Do we deliver it on this time? Yes or no? If then people say no, we want to be curious about why are you breaking this agreement? But if you haven't made any expectation, and what I share is also at home, your personal life. What about your spouse? How often does he or she expect something from you, but you haven't actually agreed it? Oftentimes, expectations, that's where we go wrong. That's why we have the really tense discussions. And at work, with heated debates, maybe at home, I've certainly been there. But at work, we can feel depowered. We can feel deflated. We can feel very sad and feel less than. That don't run your career on expectations. Go in all in on agreement, all in on agreements. Because also when you're team members, right? What do we agree? And then that is where the reward is. And a story I want to share is a program director I served a couple of years ago. This EAR model of framework, expectations, agreement, rewards, is not something that we taught in school. So it's not your fault that it's the first time you learned it. It was the first time I learned it, was introduced to that 7 years ago when I started my personal development journey. She struggled with her team. She expected them to really engage when they met. The challenge was she hadn't set up, she hadn't taken ownership of the agenda. She was not prepared when she came into the meeting. And she would just like delegate on the fly and delegate how to run that meeting to other people in the team. And she had like high expectations. And we worked on, if you run team meetings on the expectations, you will always feel disappointed. So we had to, I learned her to take back control, take back accountability of that, own that, and then you can own that, delegate the agenda to other people, and you can say, do we have an agreement? That shifted everything for her. So remember that. And when we come in to innovate again with higher leaders, remember to Own your own greatness. I I hear it so often, but I do not know what I'm really good at. You are good at something, but it's time for you to really own it so that you can stand with integrity and say, okay, I see you're a challenge right now. But actually, I've done this for more than 20 years, and this is a proof. And if this is what we want, this is my promise. And then let's create a plan. Own your greatness and don't limit your your worth according to other people's what according to what other people perceive of you. Do not do that. Like this morning when I got this message, right? Suddenly, should I just shift? Because she thought it was I was very, I don't know. I was not showing up as she wanted, very not kind when I did that. So make sure that you show up on integrity. And then strengthen your muscle of your mind. Strengthen the muscle of your mind every time you feel less than or you give power away. It's you who have to reclaim your power, nobody else. Don't wait for other people to say, now it's your turn. Own that room and own your voice. Own your voice in that room. Key number 3, I want to give you. That's about achieving accountabilities with KPIs and so that you inspire results instead of frustration. Most people get accountability the wrong way. Accountability isn't about control. It's about creating clarity. It's about autonomy. It's about, and yeah, it's about really giving that task to other people, because there's a word I really do not want to have in my vocabulary anymore. I hear a lot of people saying, I want to empower other people. At our level, I don't think we need to be empowered. We have the power. It's your turn now to claim that power. Don't dim your light. Claim that power. For the young people who are just coming in, the first job, then we have to empower them, right, to help them grow. But at our level, for me, empowerment doesn't really doesn't resonate with me anymore. But it's about accountability. Most people say I'm accountable for that, but it's not control. But people say it in such a way that it is control. No, it's about creating clarity of what you want to have, what you want to achieve. That's what accountability is all about. It's about clarity and reminding people how powerful they are, so that they bring great insights or suggestions to the table, because they are your co-creators. Remember that. And remember this: what you measure gets done. What you measure gets done. So what is it that you measure? And that's going back to the how and not the why, right? But it's about inspiring. What is it that we truly measure that is important? And that's why you want to start with your team's why. Why not only the KPIs, but each of the activities and the corporate why, and make sure that you measure what's done. Measure what's done. Because otherwise, you're only chasing numbers. So what is it that you measure? And are you measuring, or your numbers too low, for example? Or do you focus on the right thing? I keep with my mentors recalibrating my numbers. I keep recalibrating what is my focus. And I want to give you another tool. And I don't know what probably has a name. And you probably heard me say it again, but it's worth saying it again. Most people procrastinate the task that really moves the needle. I want to say that again, because that's one thing I keep procrastinating, but I don't want to do that anymore. Most people, leaders, entrepreneurs, they procrastinate what sometimes can be a make and break for a big deal. I'm supporting someone now, procrastinating because it's not fun. But you want to know what the top 3 activities are that are generating revenue for your business or for your team. And then you have to look at your calendar and see, how do I split my day? Most oftentimes people spend 70% of their hours on things that are nice to have. Then they spend, and that's also meetings and serving other people, because we've been told to help other people. That's the helping gene, right? We want to be the pleaser, even though we don't feel as a pleaser, but we want to help. And then we have 20% in meetings and the admin stuff. And then we only have 10% of our time, our capacity, to things that truly matters. And oftentimes that bucket that happens to be pushed into the evening, and is being pushed to the next day and pushed to the next day. And you want to do it the different way. You want to really make sure, what are your top 3 things that you have to complete each and every day, and you want to mark that in your calendar. And when someone asks you, can you help me, you say no, because everyone else has you as an agenda point or item in their calendar. You must have yourself on your agenda. Otherwise, you're sabotaging your own success. And I hear it again and again. It was so important for me to emphasize. You must make yourself a priority. And yes, it's uncomfortable. And I had to do it. Have to show, be that role model when I recalibrated, when we did Project Olympus, doing in the evening, but it wasn't setting myself up for success. You have to have yourself on the agenda, on the calendar, and say no when meetings show up, because otherwise you're just sabotaging your own success. And also in your calendar, make sure that you have time for reflection, because reflection is not a luxury for leaders. It's the foundation for extraordinary results. Let me say that again. Reflection is not a luxury for leaders. It's a foundation for extraordinary results. So make sure that you have time in your calendar for you to reflect. I supported countless of leaders whose calendar were actually owned by everyone else but themselves. And that made them stressed out, feel thin, overwhelmed. That is not the way to do that. So achieve accountabilities with KPIs that inspire results instead of frustration. Know what's important for you and make sure that you have that in your calendar. Have time in your calendar, right? So important. And then remember your KPIs. As I do it on a monthly basis and a regular basis, but when you're in business, have a recalibration season where you look at your KPIs. For example, when you have people on your team, I do that every quarter. Do I have the right people on my team? Every time I grow and scale, I want a different level, a different type of different skill sets on my team. What about your team? Remember to recalibrate. That's what the greatest successful entrepreneurs do. They recalibrate the team every quarter. Do we have the right skills on the team right now? Most people, they prolong it for years, and it's so nice and da 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 da. But you're running a business. Friends, it's outside. We have to learn to really distinguish the two. So recalibrate your KPIs, your revenue, your staff, your turnover on a quarterly basis, and start doing that. Not at the last day and in the quarter, but maybe midway. That would be March, for example, for the 1st quarter. Start reviewing your KPIs. Start reviewing your KPIs. And you probably know, if you're truly honest and aware, even in January, how I'm doing right now on my KPIs. Do I have on my team right now? Do I have the right resources? Because your results will only be as strong as those people you have on your team. So make sure that you have the right people on your team as well. That's about setting you up also up for success. Or maybe it could be, how can I delegate better? How can I help them understand the why, so I get co-creators and not operators? But there's a lot of opportunity for growth, both at team level and your own level, when you start embracing the KPIs, also to include how you operate and your team skills. There was something else, I can't remember where I have it on my notes, but here's about achieving accountabilities with KPIs. I wanted to share this because I see and I hear so often people say, I do not know what I'm good at. And I probably have to enroll on another course. You do not need to do that, and here's why. That's 4 levels of learning. Level 1 is the unconscious incompetence. You know that I want to, let me say, dream big. I want to be, want to be better at trial. What do we call it? Running trials. Oh, sorry. I want to be better in running trials, and requires me to have this skill. And I can easily do it, and then I'm successful. But that is the unconscious incompetence, because I know I'm incompetent, but I do not know how long it takes. All right, then I enroll in a course and I think, wow, I got the certificate and I'm going to do it. But you have now a level conscious incompetence that you're enrolled, but you end up still have a lot of information, but you have no insight. You have no like, you haven't had your hands in the soil. You have no proof, promise, plan. So it will take you years to get results, to get client stories, to get testimonials, to get experience, so that you can apply it. Only at level 3, then you are then at conscious competence. You start to practice that muscle. But you want to remember that you want to practice a muscle 10,000 hours, and then you start to get unconscious incompetence about it. So I want to share this with you, but because I hear more people say, I want to enroll in that. I want to learn more about that. But we come from unconscious competence. So start owning what you're really, really good at. That is your low hanging fruit. So start harvesting your low hanging fruit. Also, when it comes to KPIs, recalibrating your KPIs and start achieving greater results. You don't need more academic skills. Maybe you want to slow more down and be more present and ask better quality questions. And lastly, I want to give you this hack about daily success habits, because what you schedule, you will achieve. So remember to prioritize yourself. And gratitude, if you've done meditation, you know that, but most people do not know. And stop scrolling your mobile when you wake up in the morning. Tap into your vision, tap into gratitude. 5 things you're grateful for every day when you wake up and when you go to bed. That is living in the present moment. Gratitude isn't a feeling, it's a leadership strategy. Gratitude isn't a feeling, it's a leadership strategy. And the more you're grateful, the easier or faster stress will leave your body. You will show up, will feel more whole and complete, and you do not come from lack. So start applying the gratitude practice and have time to reflect on your big goals, how you want to show up today in the morning, and how when you go to bed, be so proud of everything that you achieved and how you show up. This is practice that very successful leaders do. But we're not taught in that in school, and most companies do not operate like that. And men and women do that. Sometimes this I've learned from men. I was surprised that men do that, but they do that because they know how important it is and want to share that. So, everyday habit, remember to break free and discover a new version of yourself. I said this, reminded a client of mine the other day, is that you have multiple versions of yourself. And I got that feedback. Remember a story earlier about that leader who focused so much on the what, on the how, and was wasting time and said, but how can I do it differently? This is just who I am. You have multiple versions of yourself. I didn't know what that was, but here's what it is. How you do things right now is just one way of doing it. But what if you shifted just one thing, then you would maybe start slowing down. When you start slowing down, you would tap into your intuitive nudge, your intuitive leadership skills, being more grateful. Can you see how you start to grow into a new version of you? That is something that I'm very passionate about. And that's why I see and I learn from very successful leaders is that it's not about achieving results, it's about who you are becoming in that process. So tap into who you're becoming each and every day and be so proud of being that next version of you who is not stressed, who is not frustrated, who is not expecting of people, but is showing up with kindness, owning his worth, loving himself, being grateful for whatever opportunity there is. When you do that and you feel whole and complete, it just is. And the more you understand that and tap into that and add it in your practice, morning and after evening practice, the more conscious you become. And then you start to love yourself. And another great benefit is that you are relaxed, you are calm, even when you meet people under pressure and frustrated, and people start to follow you because people want to follow people, not follow leaders and titles. So remember that the more relaxed you are, the more you just see that what it is. And that's also the grow framework, the ear framework, focus not on the why, not on the how. So tap into that. Before I just tour it goes so fast, that 1 hour. I want to curious about what your learning points and have you noticed that the shift, the tools that I've taken you through today, is just really minor shift in how you show up. For example, when you know what to focus on, I claimed at least 10 hours in my day, not in my day, but in my week. My stress hormone went down. My mental illness, like headache, migraine, disappeared. My skin looks better. I feel better. So it's a small shift in awareness and your habits, your success mechanism and habits that gets you to move your needle, not incremental, but extraordinary. And that's how you can map out your success and break into new habits. Give me in the chat, and that's here's another science of successful learning, is to help you type down, and you wrote some notes. What what is one of the things that you learned in our time together today? What did you learn? I learned every time I teach and I share. We want to go on mute? Yeah.
Camilla, since I'm actually on the call with you, maybe I should volunteer some of my own um, um, personal benefits of being here. So, you know, I think sometimes when you do things on and through habit, like you say, leaders often are just operators operating on constantly shifting sets of KPIs because it doesn't look very sexy if your KPIs were like the same every year for the last 20 years. Well, if you were maybe a supervisor on a car assembly plant, and maybe that's okay. But if you want to be innovative, that's very not okay. And one of the things that you said, which you think that we would know, but actually it's one of those so-called everyday habits that we fail to implement. And I'm just looking back almost forensically to say, well, why do you not have good habits? I mean, there's some things that we do out of physical habits. You wake up, you brush your teeth, and stuff like that. But I think the one thing which you said, which really made a huge impact on me, is pausing for reflection, and how we mustn't fool ourselves or speak this lie to ourselves that it's a luxury. We don't have time to pause. You don't have time to reflect. And in fact, you might as well say you don't have time to breathe. Then that's that's not true. It's and when you say reflection is not a luxury for leaders, it is the foundation for extraordinary results.
Yeah.
And foundation is a big word because foundation is always essential part of buildings. Will fall if it doesn't have strong foundations. So when you use the word foundation, it rather automatically flipped my script to say, well, if it's a foundation and I'm not applying it, well, the big bad wolf is going to come and blow and my house will fall down. That's not good. So I think that's a game changer to say, take time, put it on your everyday habits, to take time to, so you don't have to make a seismic change. I think you ended by saying, if you could just change one small habit, you could tap into another version of yourself. I think that's very good. Yeah, so thank you.
Yeah. And I love how that you picked that one up because I learned it before, but I heard a couple of years ago a very successful entrepreneur in Denmark say that he spent so much time walking his dog to reflect. And you know what happens when we reflect? Only when we reflect, we get out of operation and we start to really reflect on what is going on. But when we are in operator mode, there is no time to reflect.
Yes.
And that's where the results gets 2x. But when you apply just reflection, because there's so many insights coming from reflection, 10x mindset.
I mean, look, I totally agree, and it could be, and I'm sure you've already got it at the back of your, of your mind that this is in itself a very big topic because, it made me think a little bit deeper in a few minutes I had when I was listening to you, about pausing for reflection and making this as a daily success habits, everyday habits, what are those? And I realized that actually my calendar is full of habits that, maybe it's just a kind of inherited from really bad managerial practices. You got to do this, got to do that, and it just continues. The roots obviously to a set of KPIs that you hardly want to agree because their expectations, but you say I don't agree, which is why the KPIs don't work so well, the rewards don't come. So I think for me now the next step is to say, well, what's taking up all those everyday habits? If I'm going to introduce one more called reflection, which now happens to be quite an important one, so it has to go to quite a high priority, maybe number 1, number 2, number 3. But why are they already in my everyday habit? 20 that don't make sense, and I've got to be brave enough to say, actually, number one is scrolling when I wake up, for 5 hours. Do you do that? Honestly, I mean, it's just between me and myself. So, and I think there are some habits that need to be broken. It's almost like creating space. At the moment, I think many people, including myself, would excuse ourselves by saying, I don't have time to pause to reflect.
Yeah.
Because actually, it's, my day, my calendar is jumbled out with useless things that I'm not in control of, so.
And that, I love that reflection. Always love when we're in room together, because that's what happens, is that then we become, you become, I become an item on other people's agenda.
Mm,
And I'm not in charge of my own agenda.
mm, mm,
And then that's where people reach out. And that's why that was when I created this masterclass, that I want to convey this, because there's so many people who reach out and say, I'm in back-to-back meetings. I have no time to reflect, but I want to grow, I want to go to the breakthrough, to the next level. Now is time to make you
yeah.
put yourself on the agenda, on the
Mm,
calendar, and learn to say no.
yeah. Yeah.
So thanks for, as always, for bringing up very timely
Mm. No,
points.
I mean, I think it's,
Appreciate that.
I think it's a relevant thing, only because I'm now taking the time whilst listening to you to also take time to reflect. I've slotted up like 1 hour, maybe a little bit more now, to to listen to you. And the truth is that on my own, and you said something earlier, which is like, my calendar seems to be owned by a lot of people except myself, and I'm thinking like, actually, is that such a good thing? And obviously, we know a lot, like, we hear about the calendars, the paper calendar of Warren Buffett, and I mean, I think there's a famous video of them looking at each other's calendar, and one of them commented that it doesn't have a lot. I don't know if it's a genuine or it's just a setup, but the calendar was quite blank. He says, well, I
Okay.
keep it blank for myself, I don't want you to be that calendar. And actually, it's very good, whether it's set up or not. I mean, the message is there that you need time for yourself. Otherwise, you're controlled by people. And then the agenda is always other people's wants and all that. How can you be a version of yourself? You're a version of what they see. So I think all this coming together is a good thing. Yeah.
And thank you. And then when I just hop on to the next point, this is so deep, because then we come to a point in our, I would say, in our best chapter in our career, where let's have the calendar. This is the boss. Who's the boss? I don't even like that. But this is me. Whoever that is. You, me. When we allow, and this is our calendar. When we allow our time to be in that everyone else's time, then in our career, then they control our career.
Mm-hmm.
So, and I heard there's so many resize project last year, and people didn't understand why they lost their jobs. I don't say that this is it. But if we do not take time, can you see that? Take time to work on what's most important, then we meet other people's needs, but we never meet our own needs.
Mm-hmm.
And what is the agreements and expectation from us?
Mm-hmm.
So we have to learn
Mm-hmm.
to make ourselves a priority.
Yeah. So Camilla, I agree. I mean, you started by saying, have the confidence to put yourself in the frame, and I think often that there's a balance that oscillates. Like you want to turn up to serve, and you serve so much that you just do everything everyone tells you. But the servant leadership model is that you serve, but you're calling the shots as well, because otherwise, the narrative is always somebody else's agenda, not yours.
Exactly. And that's why the confidence in being bold and fearless comes in. They say, hey, actually, this is me. This is me. Exactly.
And I think so, like, trying to round the circle here for me, the confidence can actually be increased, if you start asking the question, why are we doing it, rather than how do we do it? Because, because the why then becomes a leadership pointer to say, because if you ask the question how, it'll always be answered very easily because this is how we've always done it. The why is a little bit more tricky because it does depend on, like your why will create a different angle, slightly different to my why. Yes, create slightly because we'll do things slightly differently because we will see people and if you like, members of the team and use them slightly differently. So I think that confidence thing can be achieved, by more concentrating on, well, why are we doing this rather than how.
Exactly. We want to start with the why, and then we want to own that why when we talk in meetings and so on, whenever we are asked, then because we have to protect what's most important. I'll get to go to consent, but I want you, one of the key messages here is to protect your time, protect your energy. And I heard so many people say, actually, the most important things, I keep pushing, I keep procrastinating. Protect your time. Something like the 10 20 or 7 10 20. How much we push. Is that it's nice. It's nice to be in meetings with this. It's nice to feel that we are wanted,
Yeah.
but it's not where you move your needle. To be
Yeah.
so aware of that. So thanks for that. Oof, that was so good. Let me just take that moment to just quickly walk you through what is coming up next week. Do I share? I think I share. So I want you to spend a few minutes on, I don't know, this bar. Is that the bar also? Yeah. Okay. The Leadership Blueprint Day. Um, it showed up in my mind. Do I say that in English? But I got this download a couple of weeks ago. It must be in December. To offer the leadership blueprint not only for my private clients, but also for groups of people, because there's this need and a ask and request. How can I how can I break through to my next level? I do not know how to do it, but I know I want to do it. So that's why I designed the leadership blueprint. Originally, it was one day, but we split it up in 3 days for 2 hours each day. So really to help you get crystal clear on what you want to achieve this year. And why is that? In 2001, when I joined BP, that was the first time I was introduced to creating my 5-year map. So over 20 years, I've been used to creating a map of my life. And it's only when you have a map, remember what you put in your calendar, you measure, you do. So if you do not take control of your life and your desires, then someone else is going to do that for you. So that's really, I've been doing this for years of creating the 1 year and the 5-year plan. But today and next week, we have the leadership blueprint. It's your blueprint for 2025. And you can read more about this. And I'm dropping the link. But it's all about helping you what you want to achieve. And it's not just in career, because this is holistic help. So where do you not show up as you want? Do you want to show up better as a parent? Do you want to have better health? What you really, really want to achieve when we come to December 2025. That is what we're working on day one. Be so clear on what you want to achieve, because you will get somewhere when we meet again in December. The question is, where do you get? So this is for those busy leaders who really want to reclaim control over their life. Where do you get? I have a map and I'm leveling up, and I want to achieve that. And I pulled up my goal a few days ago and I'm going all in. It requires me to think differently, act differently. So that's what we're doing, really diving in on your goals, and it's teaching on goal setting and what you really want to achieve. So that is day one. And we come from the end of mind. So it's about what you want. And it's not about, I cannot achieve that. What is that you really, really want? And do we have the schedule? I think they have the schedule. So that is day one. Day two, it's all about, we talked a bit about today about productivity, but how do you actually reclaim 10 hours a week, every single week? What needs to shift? So that is day two. What is it, the productivity hacks? Where do you spend time? What activity do you spend time on? And what is really stealing your time? For example, you mentioned, Gigi, we're scrolling, right? We want to stop spending time on things, on activities that do not set you up for success. One of my mentors say, if you do not make 1 million in revenue a year, stop watching TV. Right? That was his message last year. Stop watching TV if you don't make 1 million. And that's where when we talk about everything I share, I learned from very successful people, is that 1% versus the 99%. The 1%, they're creators. They create, where the 99% of people, they consume. I do not say I do not dictate what you should do. But this is about productivity hacks. Also, when you're in business or you're looking for your next job, what do you actually do? So we are focusing in on productivity hacks and help you create a system, a day, like what do you do from 9 to 11 or 9 to 12? What is it that you do each and every day? We're setting that up. And even though it's a group, there's a workbook, and there's time for you to work on your own schedule. And there's also hot seat coaching. That's also on day two. Then on day three, and this is why it's so important. It goes back to teaching from 1935, 37, Neville Goddard. If you know Neville Goddard, Napoleon Hill, Think and Go Rich, The Secret by Brandon Byrne, Dr. Joe Dispenza, you will not achieve greater results than what you have today if you do not become a better version of yourself and a new version of yourself. That's why I said you have multiple versions of yourselves. So you have to retire. I have to retire your whole old you to step into your new you, because it's about breaking habits. These ingrained habits, way of showing up, they got you to where you are today. But if you want to be in a different place, you get to be, we'll so welcome the openness and awareness of your habits. That's what we're doing in day three. This is really where we're going to move the needle. And I'm also hosting a masterclass, and actually right now, I can't remember, it's tomorrow on Thursday, also about breaking the habit of being yourself, because this is essential to understand this. And it's taken me 7 years, but now I cracked it. And we are honing in on this. So who is that you? Who is that non-negotiable you who show up as that next version of you who has made this much money on a yearly basis, and you make money because you help other people? How do you show up? What does she think differently? What does my new version of me, what does she do? What does she not do? Right? This is part of your success habit framework. So you're creating your own bespoke success habits when we're together. Normally, this group is $1,500, but right now is for only $199. The price goes till Friday, then we increase it a bit, but still super attractive. And including the 3 days, there's a workbook, and there's a Q&A call coming up 1 month after the event, because I know I've done 100, I don't know, 100, that's too much, right? But I've done some private intensives, and I know the importance of having help afterwards. So that's what you gain. And then there's an opportunity to have some private sessions with me as well if you want. But that's an opportunity. But you get the 3 days together with me. You get the Q&A follow-up call end of February, and we create a WhatsApp group so that you can also ask questions during our 1 month together. So this is an opportunity if you want help to take your life to the next level. I have no plan. People ask me, do I run this again in 2 months? It's not on my schedule as a new program is coming up. It is not my schedule. So if you want to help to really get going, then this program is for you. So the question is, when should you plant a tree? 20 years ago, but now it's a good time. So think about it. Right now, we have 7 seats left, and I do not know if we cap it and minimize it even more because I'm up for transformation and not information. So I wanted to share that with you, and we're sending out them. I can share. I think this one also goes for those on YouTube. Let us see. Where are you here? Where do you share? This is interesting when we and the chat. Let's see. It should also go on YouTube. I wanted to give you this opportunity. And only people who are really curious about creating their lives 2025, obviously, is part of this. So you will be in a really amazing part of an amazing community. And that takes me to the closing of this. And thanks for being with me here, Gigi. I know there's someone waiting for me. Let's go. I'm gonna close. But there's a few reminders I want to call out. That remember, extraordinary results like the 10x mindset comes from the small intentional shift that you do every single day. Intentional shift is about breaking the habits and creating your success framework when we're together next week. And the strongest leaders, it's tapping really into what you shared, Chiti, they create space for personal growth and reflection, and they inspire the teams to do the same. And leadership is not about doing more; it's about do what matters the most, and it's oftentimes free revenue generating activities, whatever that is for you. It's not all the other ones, but 70% free that matters the most. And I'm reminded of a leader I serve, was so involved in meetings, but we don't. It's really about also understanding, being so aware what you spend your time on. It's nice to be in meetings, yes, but are you really required? Because if you are, how good have you set themselves up? How good have you set your teams up for success? How do you spend your time? Time is of essence. Time is of essence. And it's about breaking your default patterns that you're not aware of now. You know about the scrolling, right? But it's about being non-negotiable to break to that next level. That will help you break through to your biggest wins ever. When you break through your default patterns, or break your default patterns to break through to your next level, where some greater success is waiting for you, because that's the new version of you. Yeah. So with this, thank you for those who are watching live on YouTube. And here today for being with me. I appreciate your time. As always, I truly enjoy. There's always a good reflection when I have you in your room with me here. So really enjoy it. And if you didn't see that, well, I'll be in the room with us some questions. Then we're running this event, I think, together tomorrow. I have to be on it, actually. We have a few more events and a workshop coming up as well to really celebrate that we are running the second cohort of the Leadership Blueprint. So thanks for being with me, Chichi. I appreciate you. And thanks, everyone, for tuning in on YouTube. I will see you in the replay. So with this, TJ, enjoy the rest of your Tuesday. And I hope to see those of you who want to apply or want to join us on Tuesday next week. All right. See you soon. Okay.
Ciao. Bye.